Hey guys, how you doing? It's a Friday night. Yesterday I put up part 3 of making the rail rifle. Tonight's part 4. Hope you guys are enjoying the videos. Don't forget to check out the previous episode below. But as for now, let's get on with part 4. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to start off where we left off last time. We were working on the rails for which the round would be fired down. These are going to be 2 rails, one above the other. And they're going to be in the shape of a train track, basically, you could say. And how we're going to do this is, as you see, I've made a cube, I'm connecting it with edges, and then I'm scaling down the edges to get this shape. Now I'm adding a bit more of a curve to the actual shape than is on the drawing, quite straight and sharp on the drawing, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is basically bring the edges in and make it more curved around the edges. I'm going to connect an edge in the middle there and make it more rounded for where the round would travel down. Then I'm going to select the whole object, select the vertices at the back, pull them back so it's a bit further in set into the gun, so it's not so obvious that it's just floating inside the muzzle. I'm going to move it around a bit, try and put it where I want it, and then I'm going to hold down shift, of course, pull down the object and copy it below. These are mirrored objects, so there's no point in making 2 separate pieces. However, in the bake, when I bake the high into the low poly, of course there will be details that I'll put into the high poly which will make both barrels look individual instead of so similar. Like I have said, I will be working on more of the high poly later in the videos with a bit more detail. As you can see here, I'm making a hash job of adding extra vertices to make the barrel rounder, give it more curve, rounder. And I've kind of added a stupid unnecessary edge there, which I will remove. There you go. And then I'll clean up these vertices. You can see I am very clumsy, as I have said in previous videos. I do neaten up in the future, I do get better, but everyone's clumsy in their own way. So now that I've added a bit more curve and there's vertice down the middle, there is a vertice causing a bit of an error in the mesh that I need to clean up. So I add an edge down the middle and connect some vertices. There we go. So I'm going to select these outside edges. I'm going to chamfer them to make them slightly more rounded so they're not so sharp. I'm going to select the top edges and the bottom edges there and chamfer them. That gives them a bit more roundness, like I've said previously. It's good to make sure there's no like super 90-degree angles, of course. So as you can see, I'm selecting the vertices here and trying to just clean up the mesh a bit. Once again, I'm putting more triangles in. I'm going to select the body. I think the muzzle looks pretty good now. I'm attaching the front parts of the rifle, the barrel and muzzle and end pieces, to the actual rest of the body now. And I'm just going to move around some objects. We're getting very near to the end of the first kind of pass, as it were, that I do. I do a kind of pass on my work. It's kind of, I start off by doing a box, a simple plain boxes for shapes, and then I do a pass of adding details, very simply, again kind of box modelling, and then of course I'll shove in all the high detail and work into the model with a lot more detail. So as you can see, moving on to the next section, which is the scope. And what I'm basically going to do here is I've got a plate on which the scope sits onto the body via clamps, and then the scope is designed by myself. It's just a simple rectangle scope with a kind of retro feel to it, or it's meant to be a lot more sci-fi than normal. So it has a massive adjustment wheel and a switch on the side to turn on the infrared maybe. But as you can see from the drawing, there's a base plate below which the clamps would attach to the body with, and then there's a scope above. So I've taken this box and I'm connecting an edge and now moving the vertices around to get the shape. You've seen me do this all before when I've done stuff, the way I work. So if you've seen previous episodes, you can follow quite quickly. If you haven't seen previous episodes, please go back and check them out, and you'll have a better understanding of where I'm coming from. Please don't forget to comment and let me know what you think of these videos, because they're going really well. As you guys can see, I'm once again connecting edges, trying to create the shape from moving vertices around and making sure it all lines up well and cleanly. I spend a long time basically moving vertices around in my models, especially in this model. I'm not going to go into too much detail in the description or tell you what I do, because you've seen me do it before, but if you haven't, I'll give you the benefit, of course. So as you can see, once again, I'm using connect, I'm selecting edges, connecting the edges, and then moving vertices around to get the shape. So I found there's a little lip down the bottom here, which the scope changes shape, of course. So I need to put that lip in, that little design there. So I've deleted the faces, and then I'm going to bring the vertices down to match the shape a bit more. And of course that'll leave me with like a big hole in the mesh. Straighten up those edges. This is now a hole. So I bridge over these edges, and I bridge over the bottom edges. And now I've got the basic shape for the front of my scope. As you can see though, it's quite thin. So what I'm going to do, of course, is as usual, delete one side of faces and symmetry over in preparation. So as you can see, I've added more edges, and I'm getting the basic shape of the model sorted. I've symmetried over, and I'm just trying to center it up now. The scope is going to be like a box type scope with the reticle lens and tube of the lens housing and stuff down the center of the actual cubular casing. The inset's not going very well for me. It's very sensitive because the model's quite... I need to scale the model up, I think, just to make the sensitivity not so much. So I'm going to extrude these faces back. And of course, the way that the angle is, because I've extruded them straight back, they've not gone straight back into the body, but straight up. So I'm going to bring those faces down so they're where I want them. And then I think I'll straighten them up. There we go. And then flatten that face out like so. So as you can see, we're getting the general shape of the scope. Like I said, it's going to be a very cubular scope. Just make it fit. I'm adding more edges to certain areas of the body, of course. This is so that I can line them up and bridge the faces out neatly, so that it's a neat mesh and not so messy. If you're enjoying these videos, let me know, guys. I always like to get comments, I always like to get criticisms. I think it's one main feature of my job which makes it important, is that I get critique. I have had lots of bad critique in my time, and I've had lots of good critique. I've just got better with my work over time, and I think that the more I do, the better I become, the more I practice. So that's why these videos are good, because they're helping me practice. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you for enjoying them. The series for this rifle is not yet over, of course. There is still actually quite a lot more I want to do. There's a lot more detail that's going to go into it. But for now, I'm just grateful that you guys are watching and enjoy. I have had a few people let me know their feelings, and I am taking those on board, so thank you very much. As you can see, I'm pretty much carrying on. I'm adding edges, adding vertices, moving the shape around. And then I'm creating faces by using shift click. I've added an edge there that's not needed, and pulling the edges out and welding vertices together so it's nice and closed up. So as you guys can see, we've taken the scope front end We've built out the basic box, cutting into it, adding edges and vertices, and now what we're going to do is make the rear part of the scope housing. Before I do that, I've taken the edge in the middle and I've brought the edge up in the middle, and I've brought the edges out in the centre of the actual scope. I've brought those out to add a bit more shape to it than just a box. Again, it's another piece that later on I'll add a lot more detail to. I'm going to add another box on the back here to make up for the back part of the scope. Move this into place and shape this in a similar way to how I shaped the front piece. Now the idea is, the reason for such a square case for the scope, and why the scope will be reticles coming out the front and reticles coming out the back, is because of the gun design. I'm trying to match it aesthetically. So the gun itself is much more of a square box kind of weapon. So instead of making the scope like a modern round type of scope, I've tried to make the shape fit the kind of the shape and design of the rifle. You see here I've added edges and vertices in preparation to add on the wheel on the back there, that piece of detail. And now moving it around, I did bring it down to meet the drawing but felt like it didn't suit it. So I'm going to bevel in the back. In preparation to add in the next scope piece. Give that a slight bevel so it's not just a sharp, harsh angle. Instead I go to the inset because the bevel didn't work for me. And then I'm going to bring this piece in and back. The next group of videos that I'll be doing for this, by the way, will be, instead of me using pre-recorded and talking over them, a few people have asked if they could actually see the videos not pre-recorded but at full speed with me talking over the top. So what I've actually done for this episode is, this is me working on the rifle at normal speed. I haven't speeded up the footage in any way, and this is me just talking over it. But the next, I think the next few episodes after I've finished the first few recordings will be live as I work on the piece, and then I'll edit it all together. As you can see, I've added an edge down the middle, which I'm going to use to add a bit of roundness to this piece. So of course there's the wheel part on the back here, which I need to make a gap for. So by deleting the faces, adding in an edge, using bridge, adding in a face, connecting that face, moving that edge down, and then capping those two open faces inside. Yeah, I decided to try and bridge, but obviously I should have used cap. As you can see, I've kind of corrected myself before I even finished. I'm sorry for the loading symbol on the mouse. I have no idea why it's doing that. It's very bizarre. That's a good point of reference for you guys to find out where the mouse is. So I've added in a cylinder, and this is going to make up the turning wheel for the actual gun, for the scope. Now the plan is, this is going to be a turning wheel with a bit of a grip on it. So I do plan in the later on videos to add a lot more detail to it, so you can actually see where the grip would be for your finger to press on. So adding in the serrated edge that's all the way around. But for now we're just going to make the basic shape and put it in place. The next video is going to be uploaded a bit early. I'm going to be uploading the next episode next Tuesday. I think next Friday. I won't be uploading another art video next Friday. So next art video will be next Tuesday and next Thursday. Hope you guys have been enjoying the series. I have had a few comments, private messages. I would really like to see people comment on the actual videos and let me know what you think. So you see there I've just connected two edges in the middle and then pinched them out and then gave it a bit of a round edge by enlarging them with the scale tool. I think it's looking really good. I think it's the shape of it at the moment, the silhouette is actually really nice. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm really happy with the way it's looking. I'm going to bring that down. Previously I lifted it up, but I brought it back down. I think we'll leave it there for that episode. I'll leave it running for a bit longer, but I think that the scope's at such a level now that on the next episode you'll see the rest of the scope, more than likely the rest and the last episode of this first part of the pass. Hey guys, thanks for watching tonight. This video is going really well. I think we finished off a good point there. We've got the main body of the scope finished, and we're going to move on to certain details of the scope and then finish the whole rifle off, I think, in the next episode. So thanks for watching guys, and see you next time.